Hey guys, good evening. Good evening. And tonight we're going to be talking about navigating separation. It's not just about navigating separation, but more importantly, and you first have to understand separation to understand what is going on behind the scenes in your marriage, in your wife's head, and based on have more clarity and where to focus your efforts. So we're going to be talking about understanding and navigating separation. And this is going to be really important, number one, for the guys who are already separated, but it's also going to be really important for guys who are facing separation, who, in your marriage, usually, oh, I shouldn't say usually, sometimes it may come as a surprise, your wife wants to separate, but for a lot of guys, there's like something in the air, there are conversations about it, and you know that there may be a separation or her taking her space happening. So whether you are already separated, whether you think you may be separated, and the truth is, even if you are not worried at all about separation, you're going to gain a lot from tonight's training. But we are going to be focusing primarily on understanding and navigating separation. I'm just curious, are you currently separated? Are you facing separation, or are you not afraid at all of separation? Let me know in the comments. Now, it's so important to understand separation because actually, in a certain way, now listen carefully to what I'm about to say. In a certain way, it's actually more important for you to understand separation than to avoid it. And I know it's a loaded statement. Of course, ideally, I don't want guys to become separate from their wives, right? However, in the bigger picture, it is more important for you to understand it, what feeds into it, and what to do about it. It's more important for you to have that skill and awareness than to just be fixated on avoiding separation. And we're going to talk about that tonight in the training. Okay, I see. Currently separated, facing separation, in-house separation, divorce papers filed, currently separated. Gotcha. Okay, got it. These are the recurring themes in many thousands of marriages, and we're going to be talking about it right now. I do have to say this, and it's a little bit of common sense, but sometimes common sense is not very common, so I'm just going to say it clearly. I am teaching the fundamental principles. However, every marriage is unique. There are nuances. There's a history. There is the type of connection you have, how long you're married. If you're unsure how to apply what I teach, you can reach out to me. I'll show you how you can do that. Okay? So number one, let's talk about the danger of separation. So there are different types of separation, and I just want to categorize what I'm talking about. When I say separation, any type of separation, whether it's like one of you said over here, an in-house separation, like you're in one room and she's sleeping in another room, or you're on the couch, or it's out-of-house separation. You're sleeping in a different house, or she is, or there's no contact at all. Or it's just like you may be sleeping in the same room, same bed, but it's like she needs her space, and you're in that stage of her getting her space, whatever that's supposed to mean. Okay, when I say separation, that's what I'm talking about. Any type of official confirmation that there is some form of a physical or emotional distance and separation, that one of the partners need their time, need their space. That's what I mean when I say separation. So just going forward, we're on the same page. Okay? Does that make sense? Okay, cool. Number one, the first mistake guys make, and I think I said it in the beginning, and if not, I'll say it clearly. There are a lot of misconceptions, misunderstandings, and mistakes surrounding what separation is and what to do about it. So we're going to be focusing on that tonight. The first mistake guys make is they actually believe that separation is somehow going to do something positive for their relationship. It's going to give their wife more of an opportunity to find herself, and somehow that finding herself is going to benefit the relationship. It's going to improve the marriage. It's somehow going to help the emotional connection in the relationship between husband and wife. Now, that is the first major mistake. Now, why is it a mistake? I'll tell you in a minute. But let's do something basic first. In theory, it would make sense. Separation would be helping couples if, and only if, both the husband and the wife have the same intention, right? Does that make sense? If you and your wife were on the same page about the separation, might help. Do you get what I'm saying? If you both have the same reason. But the reality is, most times the husband and the wife have two separate reasons, even if she says something that you like. For example, she may say, I need a separation for myself so I can find myself and really give us a chance to reconnect or reconcile or somehow get back together. And the husband looks at it and says, I don't like separation, but her reason, her intention sounds fair enough and logical. Now, that would be true if it was true, right? It would be true if it was actually true. In other words, if the reason why the couple separated was there's a sincere desire on the part of both husband and wife to make it work, then it would work. And sometimes it does for that reason, but it's very rare. The overwhelming majority of the time, separation is almost always the first silent stage of divorce. Why? Why is it? Is your wife flat out lying to you? Now, I don't know your wife. I haven't spoken to her. I may not even know you. I know some of the guys on this who are watching this training right now, but I don't know most of you, right? But I'm telling you, based on accumulated experience of observing thousands of marriages and working with hundreds and seeing how this is true over and over again. And what I'm about to tell you is so important that if you miss it, almost like the rest of the training is not going to be relevant, all right? And that is because the reality is most of the time, the overwhelming majority of the times, the reason why the woman wants to separate is not because she wants to make it work, even if she may say it. The real reason, and sometimes she may say this reason, but most of the time she won't, the real reason is because she wants to uncover and discover how she's going to feel like on her own. I'm going to say that again. The real reason for most separation, regardless of what flavor of separation we're talking about, in-house, out-of-house, no talking, no contact, whatever it is, all right? Most of the time, the reason for that is because she wants to explore how is she going to feel on her own. Will she feel more happy, more confident? Will there be less drama? Will there be less tension, less pain? Are you guys following me? How many of you ever experienced this? How many of you went through this? Where she says she wants to work in it, but then after a period of time, it becomes clear that this was just a time that she was just really exploring and seeing what it's going to be like for her to live on her own. And here's the thing. Most of the times, she's actually happier on her own because, very simple, there's less drama, there's less tension, there's less misunderstanding, there's less miscommunication. Because you have less communication, that's why, right? The reason why you have less miscommunication and you have less misunderstanding is because you are not really connecting. You don't have those opportunities to interact and talk to each other and communicate as much as you would if you were still together. So she feels happier. In most marriages, she usually feels more peaceful. I'm curious, again, I would love to see in the comments, tell me the truth about your relationship. Have you seen this or hints about it? Where it starts out with seemingly a legitimate reason, but then somehow along the way it pivots into this, there's another reason behind her separation. Okay? And it doesn't really mean she's lying, and we'll get into that soon. We'll cover some of that in today's class. It doesn't mean she's deliberately lying. It's just there's a certain amount of comfort that she feels to share with you, and she doesn't feel safe or comfortable to say the rest of it. It's not really a lie, although you're in your mind and a man's mind, it may seem, hey, it's not right, but in a woman's world, it does make sense. To sum this up, separation is almost always the first silent stage of divorce. For another reason, even if the husband makes the changes necessary in the relationship, there is now a smaller possibility for the wife to see and appreciate those changes simply because she's spending less time with him. Do you guys get this? It's pretty basic. Now, are there some times that you do have to go through it and you will go through it? Yes. And is there something you can do about it and how to turn it around? Yes. But ideally, separation, it's much better if you can avoid it. Definitely. In other words, a lot of the mistakes, a lot of the marriage counselors and therapists make this terrible mistake by endorsing or encouraging the separation and saying, based on what she's saying and based on what you guys are saying, this seems to be the right thing, but they do not understand, or they're simply not aware. I don't think there's anything sinister on the part, at least for most of them, but they're simply not aware of the point that I just explained over here, that there is that undercurrent, there is the behind the scenes reality going on in your wife's heart. And if you don't pay attention to it and you disrespect it by ignoring it, it's going to bite you, because she's usually going to feel more comfortable, and she'll turn around very often after a period of being her own. And she's like, she may not say this to you. Sometimes she will, but most often she won't. And she'll be like, hey, peaceful. I'm sorry. It's less drama, more peaceful, less tension, less frustration, less aggravation. I have my space and I'm happier with it. That's the danger. And that's because the intention starting out with the separation was not aligned. Husband and wife were on a different page. Let me know if you guys are getting this. All right? That's number one. Question number two is, why do men move forward with separation? If it's dangerous, if it's unhelpful, why do men move forward with separation? Or, on the same note, why is it that many marriage counselors endorse separation, or push it, or encourage it? Why is it that happens? So the basic answer to this question is very simple. Because the husband believes, and the same thing goes for the marriage counselors, they believe that this is the only way that there is a chance for the couple to reconcile. So the husband may in his heart feel, hey, it's not good. I don't like it. I don't want to separate from my wife. I don't want to see my kids less, but this is the only possible avenue available for us to reconnect and potentially reconcile our relationship. That belief is based on the reality, or based on the fact that you believe that if you listen to your wife, you will have a better relationship. And if you ignore her suggestion for the separation, you can have a harder time reconciling. In other words, simply said, there's a belief that if my wife wants it so badly, I need to give it to her. And if I don't give it to her, there's no chance of reconnecting, because she really wants it. And that's based, again, I'm just going deep, because if you don't go deep, you're never going to build a long-term happy marriage. You'll always be stuck in the ups and downs. So we are elaborating on this tonight because it's an important topic. The belief is based on that I cannot fight with her. I don't want to fight with her, especially if you have a history of misunderstanding, or you've hurt her, or emotionally we're talking, then there's like a feeling of, like, I don't want to argue with her. I don't want to confront her, because I'm afraid that I'm going to make things worse. So because of that belief, a lot of guys move forward with separation. Now, the mistake over here is really connected to what I said before. The reality is, trusting her intentions are dangerous. And it's connected to this point as well. If you just believe that whatever your wife says you have to do in order for you to heal your marriage, quite frankly, you will never heal your marriage. It's extremely unlikely. Why is that? You would think, hey, if I listen to her, we should do better. Especially if you have a history of being selfish, or ignoring her, or abusive, or not present, whatever it is. All right? Cool. Understandable. Perfect. And the proof that you cannot just rely on what she says is very simple. Look at your history. If you're married for any given period of time, 3 or 4 years or more, and you're struggling, all right, assuming you're really struggling in your marriage, then I can guarantee you, if you're a semi-decent person, if you're a really selfish SOB, I can't help you, right? I really can't. There's nothing I can do to help you. But assuming you're a decent guy, decent integrity, you make some mistakes, you're not perfect, but you're working on yourself, and you want to become a better person and a better husband, I can guarantee you, if that's you and you're still struggling with your marriage, or what we call marriage cancer in our other training videos, you have marriage cancer, your wife is stuck and you can't reconnect, or she misunderstands you consistently, then I can guarantee you that this has already happened to you, that you have done what she asked you to do. She gave you a to-do list. She said, hey, if you do A, B, and C, and D, and E, and we'll be fine, or our relationship will have a chance, or we may be able to reconcile or have a more connected marriage. I can guarantee you that if you will do that, and you have done that, you would have already seen that it doesn't work. We'll do it right now. Check in the comments, please. How many of you guys did what your wife asked you to do, whatever that ask is? All right. If you're married for any period of time, this happened many times. If you're trying to reconcile, you did the thing she asked you to do for the purpose of pleasing her, appeasing her, winning her over, recapturing her heart, however you want to say it. But how many of you guys have done what she asked you to do, whether it's helping around the house or paying for more things or being more present or being a better dad, doing the dishes? How many of you guys have done it and she still stayed stuck? Stuck meaning she still complained about the very same thing that you just fixed. Literally, the same exact thing you just fixed. Or she complains about something else, or she blames you for doing it the wrong way, or she just is stuck. You don't have to be a genius to figure out when someone is stuck, right? Let me know, okay? Every time, always. One guy says he didn't try a thing yet. Thank you for your honesty, okay? This is very common. So you already know that by listening to her, it, with the best of intentions, it doesn't necessarily translate into a more healthier, more connected, more healed relationship. So the concept of she wants the separation, so therefore I have to do it, is fundamentally flawed. Because it's based on the premise that she knows what's good for the relationship, and if I listen to her, I'll be fine. And this is such a common mistake. And marriage counselors don't get it, and the therapists don't get it, and they co-sign it, they endorse it, they encourage it, and it just pushes marriages closer to that first silent stage of divorce. Unfortunately, it's very common. Now, the obvious question is, okay, why? Why does she not know what will be good for the relationship? So there are a couple of points over here. And in some other marriages, you'll have only one or two of these points. If you have more significant marriage cancer, like we call it over here, you will see most or all of these points, and they're very interconnected. So I'm just going to lay it out there. Reason number one why you cannot trust what she's going to say, and you've already seen that it does not improve the marriage, is because deep down, once a woman feels frustrated in her relationship, she wants her husband to figure it out. She wants you to be the man. You should know. And she may have even hinted at it. Some of you guys would have already got the hint. Sometimes women don't hint it. But sometimes they actually hint it. And they say, you be the man. You should know. You should figure it out. I don't want to say everything. I don't want to tell you. Now, behind that is a deeper issue, which is happening in most of the cases that have marriage cancer. There is another secret reality, and that is that the woman believes in her heart, in her mind, that she already invested her heart into the marriage. She already did her best for the relationship for X number of years, and therefore she feels she does not want to try again. So therefore, she's not going to be giving you helpful information. She'll give you surface things. Even if she makes believe that she's trying to work on the marriage, she'll give you a list of things which are the surface. It will not be things that would actually change her and move her heart and move your marriage forward. It won't. And that's why you can do the list, do her whole list, and she'll stay stuck. She'll still complain. She'll still blame. She will still criticize, because in her heart, she believes that she already invested into the marriage and that you didn't realize it, and that you didn't realize it for 5 months or 5 years or 8 years, whatever it is, which is, by the way, very true most of the time, that the husband does not realize that there was a significant marriage problem until a long time after the woman felt it. So there is a certain truth to what she's going through, but I'm not here to tell you who's right or wrong. I'm here to point out, if you don't understand and respect this reality, you're going to be looking at the things she says without realizing that she's holding back a lot of information. The third reason is a bit deeper. The reason why you cannot rely on what she says, whether it's about separation, whether it's about other things that officially will, heal the marriage, is because feelings are confusing. Just like feelings to you as a guy could be confusing, like what are feelings, or I don't understand how to navigate my feelings or her feelings. It's confusing to her as well. So a woman may be feeling confused in a relationship and feeling like, oh, I want to feel like he cares about me or he loves me. Now, she feels that if you do her list of things, she'll then feel that you love her or that you care about her or that she feels more trusting of you or she feels connected. The problem is feelings are extremely confusing. You may think, hey, I want to be connected, but then not know how to feel connected. Okay, let's try to simplify it. It's not really simple. We'll try our best. Your wife is really after, she wants a feeling. What a woman wants in order to have a thriving, passionate, connected marriage where the woman is happy consistently, she wants to feel a certain feeling. Now, number one, most women are very confused what that feeling is. They're not sure. Then because there are hundreds, and according to some calculations, according to some sciences, there are thousands of feelings. There are definitely dozens and dozens of feelings. So let's say she wants to feel love, but it could be that what she really needs to feel is trust. So she may be pursuing love when she really needs trust, or she may be pursuing care when she really needs to feel protected, or most important, or connected. Number one, it's confusing to the woman herself what she's actually looking to feel. Number two, she's not going to say it to you because she doesn't trust you with information. So number three, she's going to end up giving you surface things like, oh, if you do this, if you do this, if you do this, if you do this, we'll be fine. But then you do those things. If you don't manage to hit the feeling with those things, and usually it won't because she's confused about what the feeling is and even how to reach it. So then she'll end up being frustrated, and that's where she stays stuck. I'm giving you a golden thing over here. This is extremely powerful. She'll stay stuck because even if you end up doing all those things, she didn't feel the feeling she wanted to feel when she set out. This is so deep. It is so powerful to understand what I just said. When you listen to the recording, review the last few minutes a couple of times, and you'll really process something really deep. Okay? Number four, because feelings are confusing, because she believes she already invested her heart, because she wants you to figure it out, it's very easy for her to misinterpret your actions. It's very easy for her to think that you are controlling her, or you're desperate, or you're manipulative, or you're clueless. And every one of those things literally block her from feeling your unconditional love. It blocks her from truly understanding your good intentions. It blocks her from trusting your effort. And that's why she's not going to give you helpful feedback. She's not going to give you helpful information. And the advice and the suggestions that she gives to healing the marriage will usually not help you. It will leave you either frustrated or actually downright backfire at your effort. Again, I'm just explaining to you why relying on the things that she says, on her advice, does not work. You may say, oh, David, according to you, you have to try to avoid separation. And that's true. However, it's not the main goal, which means in certain situations, you will have to go through a separation. And quite frankly, for some marriages, you actually be better off going through a separation because it's going to give you the time necessary to really dial in and understand what went wrong. What were all the mixed messages or hidden messages you did not see or realize? What were the little mistakes you made? What are the things you said or did which ruined everything else? Why your best efforts are not being appreciated? Sometimes you actually need a time and space on your own for you to take the time to process and really understand, and then come back into the relationship with a more stronger and healthier and more helpful skill set. So there are some times where it's actually beneficial for you just to have the time, because if you're not properly connecting with your wife and she's misunderstanding you and she doesn't appreciate your effort or she doesn't see it or recognize it, then it's actually going to be beneficial for some situations. And it's impossible for me to record in a video what would be good for every single one of you guys watching it, obviously, because it's going to vary from one marriage to the next. But sometimes you actually need the time and space, because otherwise you're going to keep screwing up the interactions with her, the communications to her, the things you say, the things you do, the way you misunderstand, the way you respond or don't respond will keep on sabotaging your marriage and your own efforts and your own relationship. So mistake number three is to become fixated on saying, oh, I got to avoid separation at all costs. That's not really true either, okay? And part of that mistake is that some guys may dodge the separation bullet, and afterwards they feel, hey, I avoided that. We almost got separated and I did a bunch of things, and then she changed her mind and now we're still together, and they become complacent. On some level, they become complacent. They don't realize that they dodged a real bullet. They appreciate it, but then as a couple of weeks or a couple of months pass and they go back to the same patterns without realizing that it caused damage behind the scenes, and then the cycle repeats itself. And then the woman wants separation again. And the problem is, if this happens 2, 3, 4 times, the woman wants to separate every single time. What is going to happen is her heart is going to become closed more and more, and it's actually going to be harder and harder to undo the separation. Not that it's not possible, but it's going to be harder and take longer. Okay. And in some cases, it can become impossible, depending on what damage happened in the marriage, to be blunt with you. The main point that I'm saying is that you have to be able to go to the truth of what is really going on in the relationship and go deep, as opposed to just, I want to avoid separation. And then to celebrate by avoiding separation as if you reached the promised land and you're doing well, because there's a high chance, if you don't truly understand what has fed marriage cancer and what is feeding marriage cancer in your relationship, there's a huge chance that the separation cycle is going to repeat itself. It's actually going to become more difficult to fix. Okay, you have to go deep. And again, I hate to say it, in some marriages, it's actually better if the husband experiences some time on his own, so he has more time to truly dial in what has been going wrong in the marriage. And that is something that most of the times when I'm working with somebody, with a guy, that is one of the first things we'll do, is to take the time to truly understand what actually went wrong, like where the disconnect happened, before just plunging right back into the conversation with the wife and all that. And part of this mistake is pushing to get back home, like trying to undo the separation as soon as possible. If separation already happened, you might as well cash in, as painful as it is, but cash in on that time as a gift. Call it as a gift from God, as painful as it is, from the universe, whatever your spiritual religious beliefs. We're not going to get into it, but look at the reality and say, hey, what can I do with this time? What can I make of it for myself, so that when I do reconnect with my wife, I'm a solid, stronger, better version of myself, and that, we reverse the marriage cancer at the core, instead of just fighting and arguing over separation or other misunderstandings. Take the time to really study and unlock what has been blocking your wife and what has been blocking her. For example, let's go into the fundamentals of what needs to be done during that time. Touched on it before. So what do you do during that time? Like when you're separated, what do you do? It's not just about becoming a better person and working on yourself, or just praying. All those things are good things and great things, and I would encourage you to do that, but it's incomplete. It goes deeper. It goes to the core of understanding and taking the time to unlock what are the things that you said or did that blocked your wife from feeling your unconditional love. This is a significant skill. Having the skill of saying, what is it that I have said or done, or that I'm saying or doing right now, which is ruining the rest of my effort and communicating the wrong picture of me to my wife and making my wife feel that I am a different person than who I really am, right? That is a master skill. That is a fantastic skill. That is a critical skill. That is what you should be doing during the time of separation. Now, it could also be very helpful if you do it before you separate, right? But we're focusing on how to look at the time as opposed to a punishment, as opposed to just being a frustrating time and a painful time, to use it as a time of growth. But not just growth like personal growth, growth in a personal way that actually improves a marriage, because you can become a better person without becoming a better husband. Even if you try to become a better husband, if you're just guessing your way, it doesn't work, and actually can communicate. It actually undermines trust once your wife picks up that you're guessing. Okay, that's another topic for a different time, because we'll be here for 6 hours if we talk about everything tonight. But the point is to take the time to understand why your efforts didn't work, what was ruining it behind the scenes, why your efforts weren't recognized by her or appreciated, or what led up to her wanting the separation. That is really important. And the mistake, the final piece over here, is don't ask her. And I really touched on it in the first couple of mistakes. The reason why I'm listing it as number 5, even though if you think deeply and you review the training, you'll see it's actually covered, is because a lot of guys are tempted. They say, oh, let me ask her. Here, let me sit down my wife and say, hey, Melanie, can you tell me feedback on what am I saying or doing which is blocking you from feeling love? It's the dumbest question to ask her, because she's not even in that realm. She doesn't trust you. She may see your question as being interrogating, or downright stupid, or controlling, or manipulative. I need to remind you this basic principle, what we already said, that if you have marriage cancer, A, your wife wants you to figure it out. B, she believes she already invested into the marriage, so she's not going to give you helpful information. She doesn't trust you with information. C, she's very often confused about it herself, because she's not sure which feeling she wants, how to get there. And D, she can very easily misinterpret your efforts and your questions and the things that you're doing or saying to try to reconcile with her. Bottom line is, don't ask her to give you feedback on the marriage, because you're only going to get surface level answers to these types of questions, and you're just going to stay stuck in the same loop. I know we unloaded a tremendous amount of information on you. I'm curious, before we wrap up today's call, if you can just put it in the comments over here, what is the biggest takeaway, the biggest aha moment, the biggest insight that you got for your marriage? Let me know in the comments, okay? If you're unsure how to apply this to your marriage, or you want help in applying it to your marriage, you can just type the word help, one word, and then we'll know you're looking for help, and we'll reach out to you and have a conversation with you. And I hope that all of you walk out with, at the very least, one significant perspective change, or awareness or reality check that is going to help you in your relationship, help you on your next step on your journey towards becoming a better person, a better man, a better husband, and having a greater relationship. And I will check your comments, God willing, and God bless you. Take care and have a great evening.